welcome to remoteworkadvocate.com. Today I have a special guest for you because what we are facing right now is the biggest remote work experiment in China due to the coronavirus outbreak. I would like to welcome my dear friend and international expert, Monika Dluska, who will be sharing hints about the situation in China right now. She is an art educator. She collaborates broadly all over the world, and now she is primarily focused around China. That's where her heart belongs. Welcome.
Hello, Nadia. Thank you.
It's a big pleasure. So tell me, please, taking into account the fact that now in China we have this outbreak of the virus, which is a very, very tough situation for the entire environment. Basically, the entire country, well, not the entire country, but parts of it, are forced to start working remotely. How has it influenced the virus situation? How has it influenced the shift from regular on-site work to remote work? What can you share?
Okay, so the thing about the virus in China, it's very demanding because it demands a lot of human resources, a lot of work from the government, private companies, and also individuals. And it's true. I can say it's true about the remote work. Doesn't matter which kind of organization, on which kind of level, everyone had to go remote, which is basically
a challenge.
A challenge.
It is a challenge, right?
It's a challenge, but also it's now the situation is many offices are closed, many schools are closed, many companies are closed. So this is the only solution actually.
Because people are isolated, as far as I know. Are they really isolated?
In some cities, they are isolated more. In some other cities, they, for example, in Guangzhou, where I work, it's more whenever you go out from your building, you have to sign up some kind of document that you went out. Okay. And how many times you are going out and going in, and where did you go? You have to report everything to your
supervisor, building manager.
Building managers is the one thing, but for your supervisors, you have to update them with wherever you are moving. Okay.
Okay.
So there are some kind of surveys that each employer had to fill.
Make sure that it's compliant. So you said Guangzhou, but what are you doing here? Because we are filming in Poland. Because we talk about remote work in China, but suddenly we're not really in China, okay?
Yeah.
So let's just really give you a few hints about the background. What are you doing here? Why are we even meeting? What happened?
Yeah, so basically it happens the same to me to other billion people over there.
Okay.
So because of that situation now, I'm also somehow forced to work remotely, even if it was my dream in the past.
True.
So I'm also I'm participating in this kind of experiment now. So as you see, we are now everywhere. It doesn't matter. There are some people who stayed in China and they are locked down in their neighborhoods, let's say. But in some places, as we said, it's more strict. In some other places, as I said, right. Some other people in the international companies or international schools, many of them, they are working remotely from abroad. So this is the situation now.
Wow, it's really challenging. I have so many ideas in my head about the questions that I'm willing to ask, so I took notes. I prepared myself to make sure that you are going to get a structure here and you're going to get the most valuable insights. So my question to you would be, what does the culture look like in China? Because you are now in Poland, but you're mingling with the Chinese culture. And it's not as it is in the end of the world, in the rest of the world, but the Chinese people pride themselves for their culture. How is it? What are your insights about it?
So the culture is, of course, very long and very rich because they have thousands of years of history. So this we have to remember. right? And think about it when we talk about China.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, if we look at their culture from the perspective of the cultural model of dimension of Hofstede, there are like few factors that I would like to share with you that it's important to think about. Yeah, when we work with people from China, and
Perfect.
any other country basically. When you work with someone, you should know with whom you are working, how they are thinking. So in case of China, the situation looks like Chinese attitude towards the distance to the power. It's huge. So you have to remember that they will really have a lot of hierarchy in the relations between people, right? So this is like very important during the work, because we see like when it comes to the decision making and problem solving, of course everyone will wait for someone higher to make the decision and make the steps, right? So this is the one thing. To compare to American culture is like actually it's quite opposite, because like it's more their culture and their like respect towards the power, the distance. It's lower.
So is it like an agile environment is easier to implement in the United States than in China?
If it's like more freely,
exactly.
Yes,
that's what I would say.
Okay, so like also another like thing that it's very important when we talk about China is like their approach, their attitude towards the uncertainty avoidance, which for the Chinese culture is very low, which actually means that they will be really like risk takers. So for them, they won't care much about things which are uncertain. They will go for the risk.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that's something I didn't know, honestly.
Yeah.
That's really something super new to me.
Maybe also that's why, you know, like they like to have one business, to start another business and like another, and they don't care much if they fall or not, right? So yeah, this is another thing that is important when we talk about their culture. Then another thing that is also important is like that their type of culture is like highly masculine. If it comes to the attitude, so it means also that they will be very competitive and they would like to challenge each other in the society. Yes.
So competition,
Competition, yes, and succeed, to be like a person who succeeds in things. Yes. Of course, also they like to show off, which is also compatible with this dimension of the culture. Another like aspect that is very important in like the Chinese culture is that they have like a huge collective way of thinking. While in Western countries we are like also depends on the country, but like we are having like a higher individual thinking, right? So because of that, we can also see that even in the situation of the coronavirus, they really quickly organize like hospitals or even just like remote work, you know?
Because it just happened just like that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it has its consequences, which is something we're going to talk about. But anyway, it's still an amazing approach because they really managed to solve the problem.
Yeah, and I believe it's because of the like how their culture is and how they are taught since they were young, and like also like about the core values, right? Like first family, then your like company. They really think in this way. You know, my company is like my family, right? Like they like to adjust this to their life, and also like the country is very important. So they always will think about someone else first, like the group, not themselves.
Well, that's not that common in Western countries, I would say. So that's also something new. Wow. So it is a very proud culture with a super rich history, no doubt. So now the trend to work remotely, but well, the trend, now it's an experiment that is forced by the situation, but the trend of working remotely, collaborating all over the world, it comes probably more from the Western side, I would say. So now you are here today, but you have probably other team members spread all around the world. But you work still with Chinese people who are in China.
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like in terms of cultural aspects? How do you overcome these in time zones? That's really interesting.
Yeah, so like maybe like if it comes to time zones, it's very demanding because like our team is actually almost everywhere.
Okay.
As you said, China, then we have some people in India, Egypt, like Europe, and even like America and South America.
I want to tell you something. She showed me her cell phone where she has different well, you have it probably here. This is something that I just thought that it was really amazing but kind of crazy. She has all kinds of times, different time zones.
I don't know where to show like, but I think here is okay. So yeah, I have I have like my time here in Europe and then my Hong Kong time, and then because my team is like everywhere, so I also applied other times to my
calendar,
to my clock.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is basically what I have. So,
okay.
You see Nadia everywhere.
Yeah. She's everywhere. You know,
yeah.
I heard it. I heard it just to give you here an idea. I was reading an article recently, and somebody, unfortunately, I can't tell you who right now, but whoever it was, great words. That if you have people working in different time zones and they take their tasks over, then it's like you have a friend in the future. I love this. So move on anyway.
Yeah, so somehow sometimes it works, as you said, as you quote, but also it can make some confusion, you know?
Yeah.
Because like of these big differences of a time zone, actually the time for us all to have this time together, to overlap, it's quite difficult. So in this situation, for us, it works like we are working in a smaller teams, and actually for me, it's like I'm working with different teams. So if it comes to the meetings, maybe for me it's easier to organize because I still can like manipulate with my time, right? With this overlapping. But like if we would like to meet all together, then this would be problematic.
With all these time zones, true. Well, this is an aspect. This is an aspect that I'm talking about in some of my videos. So, how to work in different time zones. Stay tuned for that one too. Well, but anyway, what about the cultural aspect? Coming back to the subject, because I would love to talk about so much, but it's so interesting.
So, like for example, with Chinese people, like they love meetings. You have to know, like they love meetings, and doesn't matter if we need the meeting, we don't, like they love it. So now in this situation with a remote work, when we are like spread everywhere, this is a bit like, we don't need that many actually now, and we cannot organize that many. So I have a feeling that Chinese team, actually they are meeting together very often online. Yeah, they are using Zoom for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think here's the same. Zoom or like other like social media platform, but this is typical for China.
You use WeChat.
Yes, exactly. Or some companies they are using a Dig Talk or WeChat Business.
Okay.
Yeah, but in our case, those are those two. And what more? I even heard like, because you know, like they like to stay a long time at offices normally, right? And work after hours. Like this is typical for Asian people actually. And now in this situation they are lacking of this, you know, like office time together and like staying over the time that you have to work. So I think for them it's quite difficult, Okay. For us, for Western people, like we are quite happy because we don't have to participate in a bunch of meetings that's really not always are that important.
All right.
So, but other like the aspects is like I have to say that my colleagues, especially those like Chinese colleagues, even if they would wait for some other people who are higher to take the decision, to take that step. Still, I have to say that they are very hardworking, and it's also like in their culture. Yeah. So, like, really, they are trying to do their best.
But you know, that's really interesting what you're saying, because one of the major concerns about remote work, and that's why there's always so many questions around its implementation, is the matter of trust. People say that employers say, okay, we are going to let you work remotely if you trust you, we know how you work, because still there is this reluctance about well, somebody's going to stay at home, do the laundry, watch TV, go to the dentist, doctor, whatever. And here, this is probably not even the case, right?
Actually, I think also depends on the company, because like in our case, yeah, it's like it's in education, so like we have to be more strict with the time, because we work actually from our clients and like who are the parents and the children. So
yes.
We really need to be on time with things, right? But I also know that many companies, they don't trust their workers that much.
Okay.
Because, you know, as we said, like in their culture, it's important that your boss can see you, right? That you are working, or your colleagues. Maybe you won't even work, you won't even do the things.
Yeah, but you're sitting there, somebody can monitor you, look at you, that means you're actually working, no matter that you're bored to death sometimes.
Yes,
right?
Yes. So it's exactly the situation, but yeah, they have some solutions for that.
Perfect.
Like I read like some, this doesn't happen in my company, but like happens that people are asked to send like each hour or each half an hour some photo.
Okay, true.
Of them working, right? Some other companies, they're using like this application TikTok, and there is like some kind of option that you can say that, okay, now I'm working, or now I'm not, I'm off, now I'm on, now I'm off, right? So it's something to control.
To track time. It's like a time tracker, correct?
Yeah, but in case of us, it's more like basically on WeChat we have many different groups, and like always like there's like someone asking something, then they can refer to you directly, so actually you can see if people are there and they are working. Perfect. Right?
Well, but anyway, since it all happened so quick, it just happened just like that, and then suddenly everybody have to shift to remote working. Probably many things are not working that well. For sure they are not. I mean, this is my topic, so after what you've told me, I could like, create a huge list here, but that's not my job. I'm being educated this time, and the same way all of you watching. But anyway, what do you think could improve the quality of working remotely versus what is happening today?
Yeah, so like, you know, I would like to say, maybe to add something more to this thing with the culture like aspect in our remote work, because like, okay, like one thing is like how Chinese works, and we know that they are hardworking, they are like most of the time they have the same perception of time like us, like if it comes to being late, you know, it can be 15 minutes, not more, right? It's
true, very true.
But for example, like with some of my other coworkers who are like from other like cultural group, which is like Egyptian culture. Yeah, so it's like more or less like Arabic. So like I see that my friend, he has like totally different rhythm with his work. He's working when like, okay, Egypt and Poland is only 1 hour. It's only 1 hour difference.
Yeah.
But like in his culture, it's more common that you are more active during the evenings and nights, right?
Okay.
It's more like this kind of attitude, right? So actually, as a person, like we really like to collaborate together, and like we have wonderful ideas, and like even online. But it's so hard to, you know, overlap now.
Oh yeah.
Because of that, no? So for example, he's starting working after midnight. And he's like trying to catch me like on the WeChat, but like I'm already, you know, like done for this day.
I know.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, because I also work with people from all over the world. But anyway, I saw this first when I was doing my MBA studies. We had people all over the world there, and we had people from Brazil, we had Germany, we had Turkey, we had so many cultures, and every single time when our classes were supposed to start at 9 o'clock, you could literally take an expert book and say, a person coming from that country is going to be on time and who's going to be late. I was always late because I needed to have my coffee. So that was my personal thing about my working culture. But anyway, it is very true. I didn't know about Egypt though. That's super interesting.
Yeah. Or, it's also like artists. Maybe it's like specific for some,
true.
like to the individuals. But like like in this culture, they see time maybe more like in a relaxed way, right? Not like in Poland or in China. It's more on the time. But also it's interesting that in China, if we have to make something, like in some time, we have some time. Like very often, like in many places, like this very strict time doesn't work, because also like their consideration of the time is circular.
Oh, okay.
And for us it's linear. So
True.
we are going from one step to another, and like we are more like task driven, right?
Exactly.
But in their case, it might be like you can ask them to prepare something on that date, but for them it's still, okay, but yeah, I'm working on that, and really they do. But at the same time, they can work on other things, right? Because like anyhow, like we have the circulation of the time, so like and so we can do it a bit later, but we started, so it's...
My favorite approach is Italian, which is domani. Isn't it? You lived in Italy, so you know. Domani,
exactly.
domani. This is everything. This is everything to me. I live by it. No, just kidding. Anyway.
Dolce far niente.
And dolce far niente. Oh my God, I'm a dolce far niente. Yes. Okay, so tell me, please. I'm in the dolce far niente spirit. Sorry. So what do you think would make remote working more effective? What would you need today that you don't have? What would you really think would make it happen better?
But but we are still talking about like China, right?
China and what's going on right now, because it happened so suddenly.
Yeah, so like they did it great because they organized themselves very fast. Government organized development of the platforms, like for online learning for universities.
Amazing, so quick.
Yeah, during 1 week, I guess.
Wow.
Maybe like something a bit more than one week.
Speed up competitors. Speed up competitors.
So, but for example, like what might be the problem is like in China they have like this like network 4G, and they are transiting to 5G.
Yes, we know the Huawei story. That's really unfortunate to say. I'm sorry for that.
Actually, this is like 5G is because like there are so many people and they are like using internet a lot. So actually the network cannot stand it anymore, so they have to do it.
True.
So in this situation now with remote work, it's like sometimes it's like too slow, might be too slow. So like I don't have solution for that, but might be like to do like a shorter period of time of working like online and maybe remotely, like more on your computer, and then
not being online constantly if it's not necessary with the capabilities that we have right now.
Yes, because I think this is what might happening now in China as well, because they have to always to say I'm working, hello boss, this is me, myself, like it's
true.
So, and what more, I know that Chinese colleagues, they don't like it. They don't like it. Yeah, for us it's a dream. I think, like personally speaking, that it's still connected with their culture. That they are like to be in a group, and here is like
it's not a natural environment for them.
And it's like maybe in my case, for example, I wanted always to do this, so it's like more like finally.
Well, the circumstances are not that nice, but it happens. True.
Yeah, so it's like this kind of situation, but for them, it's like still they prefer to go to office and to be in the office. And they say like for them it's also hard with like this discipline, even if they are very like really you can see they are very organized, but like for them it's still hard. And what more? Like I have a feeling that they could, like some people, you over there, maybe someone could develop like better like applications for this like collaboration, yeah, when you have a lot of people to attend the meetings. Or for example, in the case of classes as well, would be maybe better some like virtual like a room, you know, like for collaboration. I think Nadia, you told me something about
Remo. Remo is an amazing platform that I absolutely adore for online conferences, where people can actually jump from table to table. Amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, so I think maybe like this is what we are missing. However, like China, they have a lot of very good like tech companies. They have a lot of competitive like applications or like programs to like those Westerns that we have. Because as you know, or maybe if you didn't know, that in China, like internet from outside cannot work. You need to have a special VPN that allows you to go, let's say, virtually outside. So China is not the perfect place for remote work, I think, if it's like going international, right? Because of the Great Wall information block and this kind of situation.
Well, that's an interesting aspect too. So not everything. I know that I may be mistaken. Skype is not working, is it?
I think it's working, but not that well. But anything from Google is not working. Slack, I know, is also like problematic.
Okay.
This is what I heard. I haven't used, but like all of those like Facebook, Google programs, they are not working.
So you need to have a VPN to use that.
Yes, and also with this, if for example government needs to block some information at some point. They really can do that. It's not a problem for them. So then, even if you have the best VPN ever, like it will be hard to connect with outside. This happens, for example, when we have whenever we have some people from the government coming to the city, for example. So then, for 6 days, you cannot access VPN.
Wow.
Yeah. So, for example, in our work, we need to find like those applications that they can work with the internet that is provided in China, and doesn't require the VPN.
That's a really interesting aspect. I think it would be great to dig into it a little bit deeper, because it sounds so easy with all the providers that we have on the market right now, but how to make it work with the Chinese in China. And that's probably the reason why I have been asking myself before we started this video, hey, but there's so many applications in terms of project management, this and that, but this would be your response, that it's not going to be possible, right?
Yeah, like depends. You have to find the tools that actually can work in both.
Exactly.
Like,
So think about it proactively. Yes, think about it proactively before you consider that. Perfect. So tell me, the biggest experiment right now in China, you are a lively example of it. It's working. When will it end? What can we expect, according to your opinion?
This depends, really. It depends on the government mostly in the situation, because nobody can make any decision if it's like against the government. And so far, like for example, for schools and for some companies, everything is like postponed like 1 to 3 weeks. From the, because normally people were supposed to come back straight after the lunar calendar New Year. Lunar New Year. But like many companies postpone it like 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So in some cases people already are coming back, because like in China they say it's getting better in some places. So, and also like economical speaking is like the China and the rest of the world, they need they need people to come back to
I
work.
just checked this out. This was made in China too, of course.
So but it's like also depends on the kind of the companies, right? Because if it's like factories, of course, like they need people on site and work. If it comes to education or like let's say architectural companies or like tech, they can work online. However, still, like for Chinese team, it's better to work in a team. To talk like that.
I met a client of mine from the automotive sector actually last week, and they have parts being delivered from China, but they work with all over the world, right? So they told me the situation is really critical, because their customers from the States, from Western countries are saying, hey, we need you to deliver. But they say, but we don't have the components because of the situation in China. And they say, we're in a tough situation because our clients, our partners say they don't care. So everything really stands on China today.
Yeah, actually, like some months ago, there was also like some like crisis, let's say, with the medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And then like we really felt it, like even in Poland, in US, like because actually like all of those components for medicines that we need, like some kind of medicines that we need in Europe or in US, basically they are made there. So, and now might happen with a lot of things, you know. So that's why it's very important for Chinese people to stop this situation, like to control it, to have it under the control, and also like to be honest, I think if this kind of situation would happen, for example, in Europe, somewhere in Europe, at this scale, I'm not saying like few people that you can track and like and it's done, but like so many people, like in China. Actually, I'm not sure if we would manage this, and in the sense of like that we need to organize very fast, like some remote work programs, you know, like I'm not sure, and also like people, like attitude, and like you know how they would find themselves in this situation, because also in China they are organized, they listen to their leaders.
Okay.
They have a lot of technology. Still, like even if the applications sometimes they don't work with outside, but so I think it was actually the best place
to start
there
an experiment like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can say from my side that obviously we are all hoping that everything gets back on track as soon as possible. But on the other hand, just to sum up, remote work is the future. It's not just a temporary trend. Let's get ready for it all over the world and make sure that we can combine the Western world, China, everybody all together to make the best out of every solution. Thank you so much for today. It's been amazing and a great pleasure.
Thank you, Nadia. It was very nice. I'm very happy that you invite me.
Pleasure.